evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and I'm your host, Elly. Boy, it's been a rough few weeks. I've been very, very sick. Um, and no, it wasn't the big C thing. I did have a test come back, but it wasn't that. I was just totally, all my guts were infected. I was infected, even, I think even the hairspray was infected. So I'm doing better. I've been able to keep things down for about 2 days, not run the fever for 2 days. So what I've been doing for 2 days is fighting for fair use. So if you've been over on Facebook, you've been seeing me just going at it on the Fair Use Act. What it is 72 countries hit me up with one song. It's my opening song, and I got it fair and square. It was free use. And so they said 72 countries are going to hit me up with copyright problems. This is on Facebook. So what I said, well, what do I do? What does Elly do? Elly gets mad and she calls New York. And I got a hold of the United Nations up there, and I talked to one of their legal department. And he said, how many countries claimed copyright? I said 72. And he said, so 72 countries got together and wrote one song. Now, how long is the song? I said, about 2 minutes. He said, Facebook is delusional. Facebook is very delusional, he said. Strike one for Facebook. So I put it out there that they're very delusional. So a point for Elly. But I do got to show this here. Oh boy, it's all messed up and you can't see it. Maybe if I get a little bigger. Maybe let me take myself. Okay, so that they say right there, I can use whatever the heck I want. So I'm back, and boy, a Friday, and I'm just going to do a little bit of news. I'm still under the weather, folks. I went to the doctor today. He gave me the clear and free to go. He said, but go light, don't go uh, doing all day shows. I said, no, no, no. So I'm good to go. I'm good to go, folks. I'm very glad to be back. We did get a strike on, I believe it's Investigator News 2. So I believe we're on the network only today. I have not looked to see how many days left we have. They found something else. I figured they would. So on with the news. Solar panels, they're overheating. Huh. Yeah, the solar panels aren't making it, and the heat is taking them out. The stunning failure as the weather becomes too hot for them to handle. Well, it looks like the solar panels aren't going to be saving the planet anytime soon. As long as they want to keep saying these are the highs. Oh, climate change. Oh, this is the hottest it's ever been. Um, no, not no, because we've even had the Weather Channel come forward and tell us, no, these aren't the hottest temperatures. These, some places, yes. Do you remember Death Valley, 120, 125? Where are those temps? Not seeing much of Death Valley lately. Uh, but it is hot, folks, and it's summertime and maybe just a few more weeks. And, with the volcanoes that are shooting ash, maybe we'll get a colder winter. I haven't read the Farmer's Almanac. How many of you guys read uh, that Farmer's Almanac? Sometimes it's good. William, are you on the network or are you on two? Please let me know below for those that are watching. I don't know, just put a little thumbs up or something. You don't got to say nothing, or just put an X. We'll call you Mr. X. And hello to William. I bet you're glad to see me back. I look pretty good. I think I look very well. Uh, and oddly enough, folks, you know how I always cough, 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 and my throat itches and allergies. And when I went and got seen, they said, boy, your lungs sound good. I said, oh, really? Well, I haven't been coughing. I haven't had allergy stuff since I got sick. So maybe all these antibiotics. Oh boy, you should have seen them lined up. They had 6 shots that were like this big and like that, this round, coming at me when I was at the emergency room on Monday morning. So anyway, enough of me. Let's just get on with it. So the solar panels, they're suffering. Um, an article that came out said the weather is too hot for the solar panels. According to um, the manufacturers, temperatures over 104 degrees Fahrenheit will severely impact solar panels' ability to store energy. Uh, Either they must be shaded or they at least must be kept at temperatures of 77 Fahrenheit. Um, and they become less efficient with every increasing degree Celsius. The efficiency of the solar panels is impacted by the temperatures, with the high temperatures 25 degrees Celsius, negative impacting on its performance. So it can't be too hot, it can't be too cold. Oh my goodness. Can so I sent a note to with my girls over there at the Capitol, and I said, can you just slip that article somewhere where it could be seen? Make a copy of it and kind of slip it a few places. Well, they did. Fair weather panels. Yeah. Um, so they did, and it was causing a little stir in the offices at the Capitol. Nancy Pelosi is uh, very very righteous about this. So what does she do? She decides she's going to go to Taiwan. She's supposed to go a year ago, folks. Now, don't think this is out of the blue trip. No, she was supposed to go a year ago, but she got caught up in probably insider trading. Uh, I got a story on that too. Her and her husband got caught again, but see, it's allowed because she passed that bill. She's fixing to pass a few more. Um, but Nancy Pelosi, she's going to be heading to Taiwan. And what does Jinping seem to think about this? He's not very happy. And despite repeated warnings from China that for her not to visit, that the visit will escalate tensions between Washington and Beijing, Pelosi's visit would mark the first time in 25 years that a sitting House Speaker visited the island since Newt Gingrich. He made the trip in, I believe, um, come on, William, help me there. 90, I want to say 96, 97, 98, right around there. Um, Now, she was going to have this trip of quite a few months ago, but then she tested positive, so she couldn't go over there. Now, responding to the news of Pelosi's planned trip, Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Li Lan delivered a stern warning. He said if Pelosi goes through with the visit, China will take strong resolutions and measures to safeguard its territorial integrity. He said that because Congress is part of the U.S. government, it should follow the one China policy. They do not break their policies, he claimed and repeated. Washington severed diplomatic relations with Taipei in 1979 and typically sent former officials to represent U.S. interests. But in recent years, congressional delegations have become strongly and increasingly more common. China is not the first. Um, Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, and Adam Schiff, they have been going country after country with this little small congressional pack. And of course, they take one, maybe two. Usually it's Lindsey Graham with them to the places they go, Pakistan. They went to Jordan. They've been to Israel. They've been to Iraq. They've been to Ukraine. At one point, they had been in Afghanistan. This is over the last 20 years or so. Um, so them going over there to visit, they need to stick with the one China policy. Now, if I'm going to stick to like uh, Russia with the Minsk agreement, I'm going to stick to the one China policy. If they say, no, you're not supposed to go over there, no, you're not supposed to go over there. Now, they didn't have no problem with Joe Biden going over there in a presidential um, um, services or to speak with somebody. But when it comes to congressional offices, they are not foreign policy. That is usually left to the Vice President of the United States. Hello, Susan. Good to see you. Um, yeah, I'm feeling a little better. It's going to take a few days. Um, the doctor today said it's going to be probably about 3, 4 more days before I'm spunkier than I'm already spunky. So I even sent Mary a message and said, I feel semi-normal. So I do. I feel semi-normal. So, uh, Sherry, good to see you too. Good to see everybody. And I'm very glad to be back and back on board and getting this news out to you guys. I've been watching little bits that I could, and so I grabbed the good stuff today. We will be, back on track next week. Um, Everybody's maybe wondering about trivia for tomorrow. I'm going to do a little bit. I got to really see how it goes, and then it gives me a day to rest again. And then next week we're just going to go right back to what we were doing. I'll be back with the morning weather shows that everyone loves, and we'll be back on track. And you guys will never even know I've been gone for a couple weeks. So, all right. Um, there was, and I wish Mary would be in for this one because there was a commuter train, but they also they had to disclose that this was a transportation train also, and it caught on fire. I'm trying to keep an eye on all these different places catching fire out of the blue. And now I wouldn't have paid attention to this one because it was just a commuter, and the commuters fled the trains as it bursted into flames. The thing about it was when all the smoke and flames and the basically the train ended up in the Mystic River, Somerville. This was in Massachusetts. Um, Basically, it was all being taken care of by the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. Uh, and that caught my attention. I thought, wait a minute now, this is transportation. This isn't just people. So come to find out, it was transporting goods for, uh, it doesn't say what type of goods that it was moving, but they did say that it was full of stuff that would go into a supermarket. It wasn't meat or anything like that, but it was a transportation train. But there was 200 people that were forced to evacuate off the train. My thing is, here's another instance where we're seeing it's not a manufacturing plant. It's not a chicken farm. It's a train this time that was carrying goods, and they were trying to keep it quiet for some reason. So, hey, be good to see you too. Um, so anyway, I'm going to move on. Um, remember, um, we had quite a few people that were arrested during George Floyd rioting. This is stuff that I try to keep an eye on. Well, one of these gentlemen, he could not avoid um, being sentenced, and this was a Virginia man, and he was not a United States citizen, and he has been able to avoid deportation from the country on Monday, despite committing heinous crimes. Um, this page doesn't want to stay up for me. So the crimes that occurred during the riots in the summer of 2020 following the death of George Floyd, this guy, the federal prosecutors decided lately that they would negotiate a plea deal that ultimately helped reduce prison time drastically. Now, Tabri is his name, is a green card holder, has been in the United States since he was 6 years old. And the once conservative, um, um, he has went down the wrong road, according to federal prosecutors. And they said he was originally charged and sentenced due to attacking police officers. Um, Not only that, but smash and grabs. He was found to have a weapon on quite a few occasions. Arson, um, and 5 other people that were arrested with him. Um, but those people have went on to spend their prison sentence. And these are American kids. So now we have Trebi. Boy, this thing is funny. Um, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of obstructing law enforcement and civil disorder. Um, the judge said it was a reasonable sentence. So arson and attacking a police officer and smash and grab and basically arson is horrible enough. They went ahead and they're going to let him go. And then they're not going to deport him for this. That's what got me after all of this. Since he's in a sanctuary city, they're not going to deport him. So it just shows you again. And this was one that they really thought they were going to stick it to where someone was going to be charged with everything that happened during George Floyd. The small business people in that town, Minneapolis, have been hoping something would happen to these handful of kids. Now, according to the witnesses and small business owners, there's about 8 or 9 of them. They were really hoping that these kids, that they would hold them to the highest extent because their businesses are the ones that were torched and arson. And they have lost everything. But now they know that these 5 of them got light prison sentences of a couple of years. And this other one that did the most damage and attacked a cop is going to go ahead. They're going to go ahead and let him off leniently with maybe 2 years. And so he'll be out in a year for good behavior, because if you go in for 5 years, 2.5 is usually time off for good behavior if you act right. Now, if he's already been in prison, they'll count those dates. So he might only serve about a month in jail. So, All right. So, um, well, Sherry, I got some stuff on that. Um, Tom Fenton came up with some stuff here um, it's while I was sick, and under Freedom of Information Act that I really didn't want to get that far ahead. But get this, Sherry. He has been hitting them up with Freedom of Information Act on the spending that they've been doing with inflation, and they've been hiding stuff. The Congress has, and then they classified it. Well, he's been hitting them up, and like we did with the boys on the track, where you can get little bits and pieces where they don't redact everything, and you'll get a name, you'll get a few codes of what's going on. Well, he has gotten some of what they have been spending their money on in 2019 that we didn't know about. But not only that, when they sent him the files, they sent him numbers all the way back to 2008. That it's just going to blow you guys away. Trillions and trillions of dollars that they have pushed in budgets behind our backs. And Nancy Pelosi is one of the biggest her and Schumer are the ones that pretty much pushed a lot of this through. Now, I did notice in the documents that mention he didn't vote for a lot of that stuff, a lot of the budgets. But Nancy Pelosi, here's a budget, 3,000 pages the night before, and we're going to vote on it tomorrow. And that's what she seems to do. There's got to be some way to put a law in, folks, that they can't do this. They got to have a reasonable time to look at the budgets. Because look at trillions. We're talking over $20 trillion that they've been slipping behind our backs. So anyway, I'll read it to you here in a second. So Russia and Ukraine, they signed a grain export deal in Turkey with input from the UN, averting global food crisis. Is it going to help us? More than likely not. It looks like they're trying to ease the tensions over there as the protesters are hitting the streets over there in Europe, and they're demanding not only for U.S. to use their stockpile of crude oil, but also they want answers, and they're demanding answers on this. And so Russia and Ukraine signed a grain export deal in Turkey. And this was signed as of this morning, and it allowed for safe export of grain and other food productions from Ukraine as the world continues to deal with the food shortage. Today there is a beacon on the Black Sea, a beacon of hope, they say, that the UN Secretary Guterres told reporters. This is an agreement for the world. This is a way for grain to at least start moving from not only from Ukraine, but with the help of Turkey and other naval vessels that are going to sweep. They're going to have quite a few ships. Some are going to sweep waters for explosive mines, and then they're going to and they said that get this, they claim 400 mines that Russians have put into the Black Sea. So they're going to do that, and then they can start moving the grain. Now, where the grain goes first or who it's going to, I'm hearing it's Europe. And then it will start releasing and heading to the United States and to other countries. They're talking they might even have to go to third world nations because they are at the point of starvation. Now, folks, I've been sick for a couple of weeks. And so I came back and I was like, okay, we had Sri Lanka and we had Africa that is hit rock bottom. Now, what's going on with it? Nothing. The only thing I'm hearing is Klaus Schwab, I think, is now hyperventilating with his head between his legs and saying he don't know what to do. There's no plan. So, they do, Sherry. Sherry is talking about that train fire, and she said that it's the tracks start to buckle in extreme heat. Yes, they do. That's well known. That is well known, especially through Nevada and down around Death Valley, Las Vegas. They have that problem all the time. So the thing is, Sherry, there's just too many fires going on with too many things that has to do with transportation, manufacturing, and they say it's a coincidence, but it just keeps happening. They've had planes go down, small planes carrying goods. They've had bigger planes go down. They've had manufacturing plants that have caught on fire. It had explosions. What is there, like up to over 30 of them now? So you know what to do with Schwab. Well, I think he's scared right now. The socialism is falling apart before our eyes. The good news, folks, is if if you are living today, and even though inflation is so very, very high, you're watching history in the making as socialism crumbles worldwide. Um, this is something that they have swore to. Um, uh, Klaus Schwab and the World Economics that this would work, and their plan would work. They just had to tear every country down, put everybody equal, and then it would build itself back up. Well, there's no building when there's nothing, and I think they've realized it. Um, how many times have we pointed out to the Democrats that look at Venezuela, that socialism does not work. It just kills and it crumbles a country to nothing. And then we've got the Pelosi's and the um, Hunter Bidens and them that swoop in and they buy up all the resources. Good for them. That's exactly what they do. Now, take Australia. Australia has been broken, basically. And what happened? China swooped in. They took in their Belt and Road. They were able to get a chunk to put in a military port. And now they're going after resources. How do I know? And what are they going after? They're going after the opal. They're going after the gold. And they're going mine after mine after mine, claim after claim after claim down in Australia. And they're taking over. And they're buying these people out. And then they work and it's 50-50. It's 50-50. If you guys ever watch like gold hunters in Australia, opal hunters, even I even think there's jade hunters there. You'll see more and more the Chinese have bought in and have taken over the resources. And now they're starting in Africa. They did it to Papua New Guinea. I watched them do Papua New Guinea a couple years back, and they stripped it of all the trees. So um, he no, he can't do that. That's you. That's against our Constitution. You against dictators. Um, he has to have, I believe. William, help me out here, maybe if you know. 2/3, two thirds or 3/4 of the House and the Senate to be able to for a dictatorship to happen. They can't just run in and say they're going to do it, or he can't run in and do it. He can. He. I don't even think he's got the power for executive orders to pin us all down. The military has the right to step in, and boy, I wish I had the thing right in front of me. My brother knows it really well. Um, when Trump was in office, he signed a thing that if the military feels that there is an entity, whether inside, outside, that tries to take over this country, the military is to step in. Um, uh, and maybe it's it, the WhiteHouse.gov, and when Trump signed that in, right before he left office, folks. Um, I don't think it's going to happen because, for one, Biden's a loss. He's a loss. He's not even there. There's no. I don't even think he's on Earth. I think he's somewhere around Uranus or something. And who do we have to replace him with? Harris. She has no support of even her own party or her staff, and which would be Nancy Pelosi. And most of the people are quitting because of Nancy Pelosi. So I don't see any of it happening. Now I see maybe in 2020, this next November, and I can't say the V word, E word, or any of that. You can't talk about that. The whole uh, November thing. Oh boy. When the Republicans take over, and see, they're finding now that there's even businesses that are putting cameras on these drop boxes. See, the Democrats thought they were going to get really smart, and they decided they were going to pull cameras. the city cameras that watch the boxes. Well, when they did that, the businesses decided that they wanted to watch them. So now we've got businesses putting up cameras to watch drop boxes. So, no, Biden isn't running this country. That's a gimme right there. I think his advisors are, which would be Obama and Susan Rice. I should say Susan Rice with the backing of Obama. Um, I don't want to say Millie and them, because I don't think so. These are his advisors above him, and most of them are liberals, hardcore liberals that are purposely taking our country to nothingness. Um, the thing is, folks, we used to think, okay, it was transitory, they said, with inflation. No, this is purpose. They're doing this on purpose. They are spending as much as they can for Klaus Schwab's idea for socialism, Marxism, fascism, that to take the country to nothing. They still got to do Russia. I don't think they're going to mess with China. But if they can crumble the United States, then it would build itself back up to be wonderful. The problem is their plan is crumbled. So um, now Newsom is already said he's running. He's going to run for president in 2024. I don't know if you guys knew that. Um, uh, Now I think that's where they're going to pour all their eggs. I think right now they said, okay, this is a wash. We're going to go for Newsom for the 2024 election. Oops. I don't think I can say that. So, so Nancy Pelosi over there in China is not allowed, or over in Taiwan is not allowed. Um, Now, Sherry, this might interest you. There is next no, it'd be September. In September, um, there is uh, um, an asteroid that is in our orbit, and they want to deflect it. Uh, and so they have this mission, and the mission is called DART. Uh, it's Double Asteroid Redirection Test. DART will help NASA with its first planetary defense system in order to prevent Earth from another catastrophic event like it did 66 million years ago, I believe. And so they're planned to do this. They're going to, um, the mission will demonstrate asteroid deflection, changing an asteroid's motion through kinetic impact. In simple words, it will collide with an asteroid, deflect it from its orbit, and this will provide scientists valuable information for developing planetary defense system. And DART will collide with a Dimorphos, an asteroid measuring 160 meters in diameter and is located 11 million kilometers from Earth. Uh, uh, this asteroid is basically a moon orbiting a larger asteroid. The mission will change its trajectory to avoid a potential collision. Uh, so they say that this will happen in September. So this is something that we'll keep an eye on. There is polio in New York, folks, for those that live in New York. They're finding at least a half a dozen cases now. They do not have anything available just yet for the basically to counteract it at this point. Um, so we do have what we had when we were young, when um, we got our shots back then, children shots. Well, they say that for this certain polio that has arrived in New York, and they're thinking this came from the illegals, um, that it's very contagious. And they said that they basically have put these people under um, observation. The CDC has now got them closed off in a hospital they are not disclosing. Uh, and I got this from some of my nurses up in New York. Then I found an article on it to verify it. And they said the last recorded um, case of polio was 2013, and that was from a 7-month old baby that came from India, and it was reported to have infected the family. So be very, 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 very cautious, very, very cautious, folks. If you're up around New York, and if you have any signs or symptoms, please, um, get to your doctor and talk to your doctor about it. Um, so, what do you think of this whole Saudi and uh, Biden trip with OPEC? Well, the last laugh on the United States, basically what Russia says. And according to what Russia said, well, Saudi is basically using Russian oil to sell um, at this point for the increase. So when we asked for more oil, OPEC and Saudis decided they're going to use Russian oil. So now I don't mean to laugh, but this is just kind of funny how, we go over there and we're thinking we're going to get Saudi OPEC oil, and now Saudi's working with Russia and has taken the side of Russia over the side of NATO. And so now we have uh, OPEC that is now going to use Russian oil to sell to everybody. So we're going to buy Russian oil. Here we go. So Russia makes their money on their oil, and we don't. And we're going to be buying Russian oil. I have a feeling. Uh, so, uh, oh boy, I'm going to get to this last little bit here. Um, the new FOIA documents for inflation. Um, what they hid was it started off in 2008, when the government they spent 700 billion on a tarp. And, we thought that was kind of a crazy number back then, and back in 2008. Now a lot of people they don't care about that, but then they gave it the money they needed uh, uh, to try to build the economy back up, they claim. So they went ahead and they passed the 700 billion behind our backs. Well, then what they did is now then they spent another 750 billion behind our backs that we didn't know about on infrastructure. And then get this, then we found out through the FOIA Freedom Information that $1.5 trillion was spent just on these two programs. So it's listed as $750 billion. But when it all came down to it, it was $1.5 trillion. But then when it came down to the dotted line, it was $2.0 trillion. Not the 750 here and the 750 there. That's where I keep telling you they squeeze those bills in right at the end. So then, if you remember back then we had to help the banks out. And I believe that was back in 2010. Okay, and so it was going to be like $3 trillion for us to bail out the banks. Well, the only problem with that, it wasn't the 3 trillion that they told us. It was actually $5 trillion that they would supply the banks with. The only problem with that is it was a little bit misleading on the numbers. So when you look at um, uh, the numbers that were sealed up for at least, um, uh, I'm going to say close to 10 years, then we got access to them. And then we found out in 2008 and 2010, not only did they they bailed out the banks a little bit different than what we were told. Uh, like they gave Bank of America $1.3 trillion. They gave Merrill Lynch, they got $1.9 trillion. Morgan Stanley got like 2.0 trillion. Citibank got $2.5 trillion. Um, and that doesn't add up. Well, see, the it doesn't matter with the math because it's kind of like Charles Ortel over there with Jason Goodman that looks at the how they do their taxes. It's like uh, 1 million, and let's see, we got 20 million. Oh, that only equals out to we only really only got like $10,000. That's how they do things. Well, this is kind of what they were doing. Well, when you add it all up, it's not just five. It's not just 5 trillion. No, well, what do you think, folks? What do you think they did? No, we bailed the banks out for $29 trillion. Now, I was thinking, back in, everybody loved Obama so much back then. And I'm thinking, how did our deficit jump so high? How did it double? And then boom, it did it again. And I was like, no, wait a minute. I know we bailed out the banks and I know we passed a few budgets, but how's it doubled and tripled? And no one ever said anything. Well, to me it did because it bugged the hell out of me. And so to me it was maddening because how did we go from uh, just a couple trillion to like 40 trillion? And they said, oh, we only bailed the banks out for 5. And I'm thinking, no, 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 no. Somebody's math isn't working here. So that's where I started watching Charles over there on Jason Goodman's show to see if I could figure it out. And what it was is they were inflating our money. That's the beginning of the inflation uh, that is provable. And this is what Tom Fenton has brought out. And so the 5 trillion that we have been force fed all along was actually 29 trillion that we paid the banks out with. Um, and you wonder how come a lot of the Republicans don't want to give in no more to them, don't want to bail them out any longer. I mean, this was in 2010, and they got trillions of dollars, folks. What did they do with it? I mean, they couldn't have been that broke. To me, they're trillionaires now. And so what we started doing is we started printing and loaning to banks everywhere, all over the world. So get this. So we decided to give billions to Scotland and Germany, Switzerland, and in the UK. We gave France and Belgium a lot of money. And guess what? Secretly, $2.5 trillion to each one of these countries that we weren't told about. So they were printing and printing and printing during the Obama years, which started the what would be considered inflation. So what we're looking at is when we went into um, January 6th is a really good point to start. We were already in a recession. Okay. So, and this is what some of the economists were saying, and this is something I like to look into. So we started reaching out, and we decided that since, remember, we were giving the palletfuls of money to Iran. Well, we were giving palletfuls of money to Germany too, not just Iran, but Germany. Not only that, but Switzerland, France, Belgium, all these different countries were getting $2.5 trillion from the feds. So it's like the feds were printing money, and the feds are supposed to be the ones that keep us from doing this. So they're printing it, we're giving it out, and then we owe the feds all that money back again. So this is really horribly corrupt in what they've been doing. Now, when September 19th came around, they were loaning $500 billion to banks per week. Um, and so The banks or those countries I just mentioned, folks, we were printing $50 billion. If the banks are short, will loan you $50 billion if you pay it back within the 24. Well, the money was never paid back, so we kept printing it and giving it to them at $50 billion at a time. And this was the first month of the Biden administration. So they have known about this. Think about who all's been in office since 2008. All those lifelongers, there you go. The Pelosi and Schumer and Mitch McConnell. Let's not forget about the Republicans, folks, because they're just as guilty as letting it slide by. Um, and this is what we got to start doing. We're getting closer to the where we make choices of who is going to be running what and running our states, our um, city officials. Um, hey, Mary. Um, well, thank you very much, Joellen. Good to see you too. Yeah, I'm back with full force and well, I'm ready. So, um, so not only uh, was Iran just, hey, look at what we're doing over here with Iran. So we didn't know they were shoveling out $50 billion to these countries, especially to Germany. What do we owe Germany for? Not to mention the money, all the millions of dollars we've been slipping into Ukraine since 2008. And now Ukraine wants $7 to $8 billion a month from us. That is why when Trump got in office, he said it's time for them to pay their fair share. Yes, it is time for these countries to start paying their fair share. If they're going under, it's not our fault. We've been giving them the money. We've been dishing this out. Does anybody have any questions? Because I'm going to try to cut this short tonight. I don't want to push it too much. I will be back tomorrow, and we will have Legends of Myths and Monsters on Monday night. I'm looking forward to being back normal again. Mary, I'm semi-normal. Abby normal, is that what we call it? A little Abby normal. So, um, with that, folks, I am so glad you watched. And if you are new, um, welcome aboard. And come on back for some trivia tomorrow night. And I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay feeling good. Right now, I'm feeling okay. I just can't push it. So the doctor told me it's going to be quite a few days before I'm normal. So please share our program, subscribe. Now, is everybody, are they on network or are they on two? I think Investigator News 2 is still got a strike on it. So as soon as we get it back, we'll be back up with them on over there on 2. But please share with family and friends. And I'm ready to get back to the morning shows. I tell you, I need a few good funny lists and some happiness and, a tickle to start your day. So with that, everyone, I'm so glad you're watching. And hit the like button, hit the smiley face button. I don't know, hit them all. Smash that bell so you'll be informed that when we're live. And with that, we will see everyone tomorrow night for some trivia. I'm not sure how much news I'll get to. I'm going to do a little bit of both and see how it goes. So come on back tomorrow night and let's have some fun. Bring the popcorn, the family, and enjoy some trivia. Bye-bye, folks, and God bless.